Let's talk about Cammy. Cammy is a chameleon, and she is a part of the guild archetype, and she is such a bizarre, friendly character that she plays so antithetical, what a crazy word, antithetically to other friendly heroes, but still manages to fit in with the guild, I think, and also personify the friendly style, which is kind of this group huggy kind of effect. She's a little bizarre, and I think that through talking with her right now with you, we'll kind of figure out some of the weaker points she has as far as being both her unique character fitting into to her friendly class and also fitting into the guild archetype. So let's first go over her backstory, or what backstory we have for her at the moment, and then we're going to go over her kit, how she plays, what each card does, and why it does what it does, and then we'll kind of discuss how she fits into the guild archetype through there. So Cammy is, grew up in a small rural town, I think like many of our esteemed heroes within Grit. Cammy is a chameleon, and chameleons are thought to be pretty much near extinct in the world of Grit. They're hated by a vast majority of the world because of their shifting powers and their history of misusing it. Essentially, chameleons in Grit can basically shift into any other person, as long as they are skilled enough to do so. So the idea is that they can blend in and become whoever they want if they've seen them or spent enough time with them. And so it's pretty magical. You can think of it like Mystique from X-Men, or like a changeling from like D&D. They can basically be whoever they want at any given time, as long as they know what that is. People are really scared of that. They're scared of what they can't control and what they can't understand, and they're scared that it could be misused against them, and it can be. So chameleons have been kind of what's the word? They've been kind of run out of town, if you catch my drift. But Cammy grew up in a small village. She at a certain point didn't really ever know her parents. She was born in this small rural village, and everybody in it hated her, but they knew she wasn't skilled enough as a chameleon to do anything harmful with her powers. She was able to tame, kind of like an arm or a leg or part of her face or an eye or something, or her hair, but nothing more than that. So people hated who Cammy was because she was a chameleon. So that's just, blatant racism, basically. And she felt this way, and so she found a love for books, being knowledgeable, being studious, hanging out in the local quote-unquote library. She had a very large fondness for learning languages of other species and other countries and continents and regions in the world, that she could get her hands on through traveling merchants, traveling heroes, or whoever would be able to tell her of that within her town. So she was always very studious, always very interested in learning about history and all parts of the world. However, Cammy grew tired of being in this rural village, and she eventually, when she was a teenager, she ran away. I guess she couldn't run away. She left. She decided to leave her village and started to travel the world as best she could. She could barely survive on her own since she was so young, didn't have any fighting skills, and often had to hide using the very quote-unquote basic chameleon powers of just blending into natural surroundings, so predators and others couldn't find her or hurt her. And through this, she found that the world hated her just as much, if not more, than her village had hated her. She came across a small village not too dissimilar from her own, and as she entered, she found that she was immediately, almost nearly attacked and killed from the townspeople. However, as she was recovering outside of the town, a young couple who didn't really believe in the hate for chameleons wanted to bring her in and said, "You can live with us, and we don't hate you." And through this, she found a small bit of love from this young couple. However, after living with them for a few months, it was let out that Cammy lived there. She had essentially not been able to hide when she went out, and what still wasn't into her powers, and she revealed that she was a chameleon, and they found that she had retreated back to this couple's house. So the couple was publicly executed for housing these criminals, or housing quote-unquote Cammy, sorry. And Cammy now understood that she couldn't show who she was. She couldn't ever do that because the repercussions to her and the people around her, or anybody who cares about her, is at risk, at least in this world that she's currently in. So Cammy survived and she left the village. She traveled the lands again. She did her best to hone her innate chameleon skills, and used it to travel to new places. She used it to hide in plain sight, to find more books about history and languages, and different stories, and all of these fantastical journeys that people wrote in fiction and non-fiction. She read all the time, and that was her safe place in these worlds that were both fictional and non. Eventually, she came to the main city, which I believe is called Valen, within the continent that we are looking at right now, for Grit. And she was able to impersonate royalty, small families, or small parts of different smaller families, and business owners with ease. She figured it out after years of being on the run on her own. However, the only people she couldn't totally fool were the guild. Keeping an eyeful watch on this new person who came into town that seemingly is everywhere at once, and it's not really a person, but has the same sort of little nicks, sort of same little twitches and ticks. The guild has eyes everywhere, and when something seems off, or there are two people of the same two of the same people in the two different spots, if the same person is in two different spots, there we go, they'll catch a whiff of it. So the guild figures her out, and Reginald, who is the current leader of the guild, which I'm going to see if I have him right here. I do. Reginald, knowing that Cammy is impersonating a local businessman, comes to their place of business, and cuts to the chase and says he wants to hire her for a job that night. Trying to keep up the ruse, Cammy eventually gives in, and allows for it, only because Reginald can promise money. He can promise to pay her very handsomely, to give her a cushy way in life where she doesn't need to potentially do all of this hiding and mockery of others, and she can take the money and run from there. But to give Reginald one night, one good job, one in and out, and then she can go. She's free to do whatever she wants. Cammy does the job. It's a quick heist for a nobleman in the area who has some small ring from an ancient civilization that she walks in as the nobleman's wife, schmoozes him as best she can, takes the ring and leaves, and nobody was any of the wiser until whenever they try to look for that ring. She goes back to the guild, and they all welcome her back with open arms. And for the first time in a while, she feels like she can let down her facade in front of others. She turns back into a chameleon, and they don't change the way they think or the way they act around her. And Cammy is accepted into the guild for her ability to do this crazy thing, to know all of the ways that she can maneuver and be different people. From all this fiction she read, she can be anybody. From the languages she learned, from the history of the world, she can basically be anybody at any time just because she knows so much about everything. And Cammy is elated at this, and she stays with the guild, and she now is where she is. So that's Cammy. I know that's kind of like a lot of generic stuff, I guess, but we have basically her story where it is. It's just time to fill in the details, but that's Cammy. She's really cool. She reminds me a lot of Nico Robin from One Piece, so I think that kind of gives off a little bit of a different vibe from her. It's more macabre, but yeah, kind of a similar vibe to us. So let's take a look at her kit. Cammy is a friendly character. She's got 0 attack, 7 hand size, which is what all friendly heroes have. Cammy may play cards as if she shared a class with them. So this allows her to trigger always affinity cards, and she's a chameleon, so she can always have affinity with every card. Cammy additionally has the text box and class of the enemy active hero. So whatever the enemy active hero is, let's say it's a brave character with an ability, she has that ability as well, which is very powerful. She doesn't gain the hand size and the attack, she just gains the text box and the class. Then she has an action that says Exhauster, hide 2 cards, which means place 2 cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck in any order, then steal 2 cards. This is, I think, the first time we've seen this steal mechanic. So the steal mechanic is meant to be you take the top X cards, so in this case top 2 cards from your opponent's deck, and you then get to attach them face down to your hero. So you could do something like this, right? And you can play these cards as if they were in your hand. So you can, this is an enhancement, and this other one is another enhancement. So you could play these as if they were in your hand. So this gives Cammy a way to be whoever she wants to be. She gets to be the other team. What this means is that it means that she has to really work with this mechanic. But more importantly, Cammy has a lot of options because she can steal, because she has an ability that allows her to take it from whoever's over on the other side, and she's able to take those cards. She's able to basically try and play the other deck better while also using her own game plan here. So let's see what that looks like. Her weapon is a 1-cost morphine weapon. This says, as an action, you can exhaust it to deal damage equal to the active enemy hero's attack. So if on the other side they have 3 attack, this deals 3 damage. The idea is that this is, she can just be the other person, but better. Affinity. This attack deals +1 damage. So because you attach this to a friendly character, the affinity triggers, and now she gets to deal an additional damage. So she's not only as strong as you, but stronger because she knows how to maneuver around it. So that's the morphine weapon. It's an attack. It's weird, I think, for the friendly characters, but it kind of works here. I almost think there might be a different way to do it. Maybe instead of her dealing damage, she just attacks the deck, the other person's deck. Like it kind of like makes it run out of cards really fast. I think that could be a really good way to kind of buff Cammy or change her, essentially making her like she doesn't kill you outright, but she kind of kills you through this other method. So I think that maybe this could change to that. So just to keep in mind for as we go forward. 2-cost Hoodwink Defense. So this is huge. This is a really expensive defense card. Flip up to 1 face-up card in your opponent's tenacity. Prevent damage equal to that card's cost. So this is like a reverse parry. Then steal 1 card. So you get to take 1 card. This is a really good card. It's very, 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 very expensive. It kind of makes it really hard to use outside of Cammy, unless you need it really specifically or need to hit them or to stop them from getting a powerful ultimate or something. But it's very strong. I just don't see us using it often because of how expensive it is. So I don't know what to do about that because I think it deserves the cost because of the effect. But yeah, maybe we're just not playing it totally correct yet. Okay, 0-cost Reface. This is a skill. Steal 2 cards, then hide 1 card. This card I think could be better, but the idea is that you're gonna steal 2 cards with Cammy, then you're gonna steal 2 cards with Reface, and then you hide a card from your hand. And I think that because this and this give you so many ways to grab opponents' cards, they're basically like extra cards in your hand that you're kind of drawing. But the way to deal with it is by using cards in your hand. So you get a lot of options. You attack the hero, the other player's deck by removing cards from it, thus fatiguing them quicker, forcing them to recycle, and then taking stamina cards for free. That's kind of hard for them to interact with. So I think that's what we want to go to more, is that this steal mechanic is meant to be, 1, very guild-like because she's a thief. She's basically a master thief and infiltrator. And that's kind of the way that she can do it. So I think the morphine weapon is the only really thing that kind of doesn't fit that so far. And I say that because I'm about to show you Stab in the Back. Stab in the Back is a 3-cost attack that deals 5 damage, then you steal 1 card. So I think that this card is fine. I don't like that it deals 5 damage. I think that's too much for a friendly card. And that because you steal a card, it's like drawing a card. This card is good, it's fine, it does exactly what it's supposed to do, but I don't think she needs an attack card. 1, because she's friendly, and 2, because she wants to have a different way to win. Okay, anything you can do. 3-cost skill. This should be an attack though. This is not a skill, this is actually an attack. Deal damage equal to the enemy active hero's attack. If all active heroes have affinity, this attack can't be parried. So basically it says, if all active heroes have affinity. So this is actually kind of a bizarre card because it really shouldn't say that. Basically, the idea is that if you I see what it's trying to say. We play it so quickly that we kind of already know what it does. But the idea is that if your hero and the enemy hero have the same class, you get to do that a second effect, which is this attack can't be parried. So the idea is that you can do it with her, or you can do it with another hero that has the same class, and anything you can do, I can do better, which is basically, you know, if we're the same, you're going to have a harder time with this than I am. So it deals damage equal to their attack, so you kind of don't ever want to use it against a friendly character. It costs 3. I think that these two are quite awkward. They obviously work in that they hurt the opponent to try and win the game, but they don't totally fit in the friendly archetype super well. So I think that we should want to take a look at these and kind of fit them into this kind of attacking the deck, so stealing cards. Yeah, so we'll have to keep an eye on that as we go forward. 2, in plain sight. This is an enhancement that says exhaust as a resource, generate a neutral resource. Because this is a neutral card, any deck can play it. And because it's an enhancement, it's just going to stay in play, and ideally you get to use it to generate a bunch of resources over every turn, basically allowing you to play more cards and like stolen cards and like that. It has an additional ability which says resource, discard a stolen card, generate a resource of that card's class. So this is very specific. I think this is very specific, but the idea is that if you steal a card, you can 1, activate this exhaust ability as a resource to generate a neutral resource, and then use the other ability still. Because it doesn't say you have to exhaust that second resource ability, you can use it every time you can pay for the cost. So that means discarding a stolen card. So if you have 3 discarded or 3 stolen cards, you can discard all 3 for 3 resources, making this incredibly powerful with Cammy's kit in stealing cards. So I think this card's very good. I think it's very specific in that it literally only works with Cammy right now, because I think any other characters use the steal mechanic. And that's, you know, I think that's something that should change. I think that will change. It was meant to be a tricky mechanic initially, but I think that it really works super well with Cammy. Maybe this could be different. I think the steal works because it attacks the deck in a very weird way, and it works with her theme. But overall, I think that this card could be slightly different, to not have that second line, or to have that second line in a better way. And I think that everything else that deals damage could be slightly different. So yeah, she's almost there. She's almost there, and I'm talking a lot about it because I know I'm already thinking about all sorts of things we can do with Cammy to make her really cool and funner, much more fun than what she is now. Because right now, she doesn't work well with other guild members as well as she could. These cards are very expensive and don't do anything compared to other cards of the same cost in other classes. And that's almost by design, because they're friendly and they're dealing damage, but they can do something that works for everybody. So I'm excited to balance this. Once we go over a little more of a balancing of the guild characters, I think she'll be a fun one to do. So, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to Cammy. She doesn't work super well into the guild right now, but that's something we'll change. And going over this gives me a lot of ideas to do that. So, wherever you are in the world, have a great day, night, morning, weekend, whatever it is, wherever you are. And I hope to see you in whatever the next video is. So, see ya.